Hello, everybody, and welcome to Top Hat Chat live with me, Street and Orb. Today on the channel, it is episode 15, I think, of the Great Gaming Debate, where we are going to be discussing what's better, JRPGs or Western RPGs.
Yeah, I mean it's a topic close to our hearts because we're very big RPG fans.
Yeah.
And we both love multitude of both JRPG and Western RPGs.
Yeah, there's quite a lot.
So I don't know if I can actually pick a side for this.
No, I don't think this is a good idea. I think probably the way that we're going to move forward for this particular discussion is going to be more us kind of trying to get to the bottom of this situation. Because there are people that do take sides. Mm-hmm. And they'll only play JRPGs.
For sure.
And there's people that will hate JRPGs and will only play regular RPGs. There's more of those than the other, I think.
Yeah, I think
except
so.
for in Japan, probably. I haven't statistically checked this, but that would be the assumption.
I imagine so, given the title of the genre.
Yeah. So, I mean, where do we start? Some of our favourite games to ever have come out on any console ever have been JRPGs. Mm-hmm. Final Fantasy VII, for example.
Yeah, I love absolute. Final Fantasy VII is one of my ultimate games.
Yeah.
And I played it really late on in my life, and it still had that much of an impact on me.
Yeah.
I think I played it when I was about 21, 22, so it'd been around for a good 15 years by that point. And I knew Aerith died, like spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah, you should have said that before.
No.
I'm sure we're
Shut
there.
up.
I'm sure we're fine.
It'll only be you youngsters that won't know. But
We don't have any of those watching, I checked.
no, that's good. We're
Checked
getting the
our
right
analytics.
demo. But it still had such a huge impact on me when
Yeah,
she
it's a great
died,
game.
and I loved the battle mechanic. The battle mechanics are some of my most my most treasured battle mechanics. Like I really, really love the battle system in Seven. It's streamlined. It works really well. There's a good deal of customization. Everyone's all like, there are criticisms to be made of Final Fantasy VII. Don't get me wrong. Of course, it's not the perfect game, but you know, it's just there's a reason that it's called one of the greatest games of all time, fairly regularly.
It said we were out of sync, so I've just tried to refix it.
Oh, okay.
Not that it really matters. If anyone's watching this, sorry. But hopefully it's fixed. It might not be. Just let me know. But yeah, I mean, Final Fantasy VII is ridiculously good as a game, and it still holds up today. I mean, they're remaking it. It just kind of needs a very slight polish. It doesn't need a full remake.
I don't know. You know, I enjoyed Final Fantasy 15, which is more. It's not so much a JRPG anymore. It's more of an action
RPG, yeah.
But it's not even so much action.
But we'll
RPG.
group
It's
those
like
in.
highlight and press button RPG. It's kind of weird, but like, I really enjoyed playing it. It's really fun, and I think if they're going to bring that sort of style of battle to Final Fantasy VII, it will give it a different coat of paint,
Yeah.
and it's good. I got after seeing what Capcom pulled off. I know it's not an RPG, but after seeing what Capcom pulled off with the remake of Resident Evil 2, I have a lot more. I can sleep a lot easier about the potential result of Final Fantasy VII being remade.
Yeah, I think it just builds my hopes up too much. But there's other games that we need to talk about. So if we talk about a Western RPG now, I mean, I don't think you can even start this conversation without talking about Fallout.
I love Fallout.
We're going to talk.
So much.
I think specifically we're going to talk about 3, 4, New Vegas.
Well, I played 1 and 2 around probably a year to 2 years before Fallout 3 come out.
Yeah, so
So they'd been around again. They'd probably been around by that point by about 5 years, 6 years. But they're great isometric RPGs, point-and-click RPGs.
yeah,
They're really,
top
really
downs
fun.
are amazing.
Yeah, I really, really enjoy those games. You know, Baldur's Gate and things like that.
Can we not talk about
that.
Baldur's Gate? Because I
And
was so
Icewind Dale.
excited for Baldur's Gate to come out, have a decent re-release with multiplayer that they didn't end up releasing last minute. It broke my spirits. I don't have a lot of spirits left.
No, look, but
But let's talk about the actual games.
Fallout 1 and 2
Yeah.
are superb isometric RPGs.
Yeah.
They're really good. The Wasteland 2 is something that really harkens to that too. Wasteland 1 is the game that inspired Fallout.
Yeah.
And then Wasteland 2 ended up coming out massively later on after Fallout 1 and 2.
It's relatively recent.
But that's kind of like the modern imagining of it, and that's really good as well. But Fallout 1 and 2 are they're packed full of character, and they just charm you with its setting, its pacing. It's really fun. It's hard as balls, but it's really good. And then obviously Bethesda took over the IP for Fallout and brought us Fallout 3, which is a really good game and really was like, I liked Fallout 1 and 2 a lot, but I got balls deep into Fallout 3, and which ended up expanding my love of 1 and 2. And that's just the way around I experienced it.
Yeah.
But like Fallout 3 was amazingly good. I really, really, really enjoyed it. But it doesn't even hold a candle to Obsidian's masterpiece in Fallout New Vegas with the same engine.
You see,
Fallout New Vegas is arguably the greatest Western RPG ever made.
New Vegas
is so good.
Took Fallout 3 and made it so much better. Everything that was good about Fallout 3 you had in New Vegas, with extras.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, well, we've already got this perfect structure. Let's just throw in a few extra bits here and there. I mean, New Vegas was incredible. The hours you could pump into that game. Then 4 came along. Okay? So 4 is a fine game. It's fine. No massive issues with it. It's not as good as the two previous entries, but it's fine. The biggest issue is the fact that it's incredibly dumbed down compared to the other ones.
Oh, it's barely an RPG. It's barely an RPG.
But this is what really, really doesn't make sense to me. Okay? So you've got Western RPGs as a collective that are generally considerably less complicated than getting used to the battle system of a JRPG. So why would they dumb it down even further when traditional JRPGs are so complicated and are still raved about today? Why make it even more simple? It doesn't make sense.
It's been a growing trend, mainly in Bethesda's world, the dumbing down of the RPG. So Morrowind was the last true Bethesda RPG that operated like a true RPG, like that was actually like full on stats based. It was like miniature percentages made the difference across all these skills, and there was so many multiple ways. Like Morrowind doesn't have fast travel, like it doesn't even have quest markers and things like that. So it was like a true RPG. It was a huge immersive experience and super fun to play. Again, I use that phrase a lot because it just had so much fun playing it. Oblivion come along, and Oblivion is arguably a dumbed down version of Morrowind, but Oblivion retains enough of that stats based gameplay within skills and stuff and specialization. That's the most important thing. You couldn't be a jack of all trades in Morrowind and Oblivion. It doesn't really work like that outside the use of potions. Oblivion still had within it the ability to create your own spells, and an alchemy system that was truly mind-numbingly confusing, but like at least deep enough to be RPG-like. And as I said, it introduced fast travel system, introduced quest markers, but it still felt like that classic Western RPG. And then Skyrim hit the shelves, and me and the Evil Yeti had been waiting at that point for years for the Skyrim, because we both were huge Oblivion fans, and we obviously loved the game. Skyrim is amazing and deserves all the plaudits it gets. But that is when the dumbing down of the Bethesda RPG become truly apparent in my mind, because in Skyrim you can be the jack of all trades. You got this huge perk tree. It's a perk tree instead of like a skill tree, basically, in my opinion. Like it's all stuff like that. Like you never felt specialized. You could do loads of things. It wasn't ever really hard. Everything was either a fetch quest or something really simple. The set pieces were better, but like on the whole.
So what you're saying is, I mean, bearing in mind that Skyrim is renowned as being possibly the best Western RPG. The dumbing down of Skyrim, or the dumbing down to Skyrim, potentially could have influenced Fallout a little bit.
Well,
Fallout 4.
I think that's what's happened. Fallout 3 and to a greater extent Fallout New Vegas felt like the last bastions of the console-based traditional RPG with micro skills. You know, you had a variety of skills, and by the end of the game, you could be
Yeah, I know where this is going.
super high level in a lot of shit.
Yeah.
But you couldn't repick those perks that you'd already spent. And New Vegas only gives you one every 2 levels.
Yeah.
Which was also better. So you really had to think about what you were speccing as your character. And just the amount of variety in the missions and what you actually, and the ways you could solve them missions as well. It felt like the last of the guard, like that was holding that. And then Skyrim was such a huge hit. I think they thought they had to do that to Fallout to make it more accessible.
Yeah.
And to replicate the huge success of Skyrim. And I think that's what happened to Fallout with Fallout 4.
Yeah. See, I think JRPGs have gone the same way a little bit. Because if you look at something like something that's been released recently, like Octopath Traveler for the Switch, that's now out on PC as well. That game it had a complicated system-ish if you didn't ever play a JRPG before, a turn-based JRPG. But it was still really quite simple. You could do anything in any order, which was nice. Kind of a fairly dumbed-down story that didn't get particularly complicated. And I mean, talk about Gamer Man has been saying this for years. He's been adamant about the dumbing down of games over the period of the past pretty much 3 decades now. And I think it's starting to happen with our beloved RPGs. I really do. And I think that's really sad. Because you're not getting those really complex RPGs anymore. Final Fantasy 15. That wasn't as depthy as Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, or even 10.
Here's what I'm going to say to that, and I do agree. It has been dumbed down. But there are games out there that certainly champion, like, the JRPG world is a lot better represented, in my opinion, than the Western RPG world, in the sticking to your roots and what made JRPGs good in the first place. Yeah. Because I think, arguably, one of the best RPGs outright that I have played in the last, since Final Fantasy 7 for the first time and 9 for the first time. So you're talking almost a decade for me. Yeah. Was Persona 5.
Yeah, see, I haven't played Persona 5, but I've seen people play it.
Persona 5, it's like half lifestyle sim, which actually freshens up the JRPG aesthetic for me. Yeah. You kind of get this, it's almost like Phoenix, right? You kind of just want to watch it. It's crazy. It's out there. The story is properly entrenched in Japanese culture. It's quite hard to access sometimes, being a Westerner yourself. But actually, the gameplay mechanics behind Persona 5 are staggeringly good. Yeah. That every fight just feels so much fun to do. There's almost and then there's the persona system itself, which you collect these personas who offer you different spells and that you can flick between in the thing, and you have different strengths and weaknesses depending on who you've got equipped at that time. And you have these, it's a 4-player squad, which I've always liked 4-player instead of a 3-player squad. Yeah. It's a 4-player squad, and you do have options to swap in and out and things like that. It looks fantastic. Oh my god, it looks so good. Yeah. Every menu is stylized. Everything that they could have done to really eke out your value for money. That's what that game is. It's like 150 hours long to complete if you're going to try and do a decent run through. Yeah. And that's without doing everything. Yeah. And there's a new game plus mode. And the music is astounding. It's this weird acid, smooth jazz, Japanese influenced anime visual. Oh, it is honestly, it's stunning. Yeah. And that really champions that JRPG spirit. And I urge anyone who's got any interest in that genre to play it, because it's a better version of its genre than I can think of for Western RPGs in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you haven't just got stuff like that as well. I mean, you've got, if you look at some, like the SNES library is ridiculously full of JRPGs. We didn't get all of them. And in fact, in Western culture, we didn't have JRPGs, really. We had a handful, but not most of them. There are loads and loads that we missed out on, which is really quite sad, because there are some amazing games going back and playing now. Secret of Mana series. Like, the Mana series is amazing. Terranigma.
Terranigma, yeah.
Great game. You know, again, that era of JRPGs, Japanese RPGs, was just incredible. The playability of all those games going back now, they were depthy, they were long. Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy V. Like, there is an absolute plethora of games that I could start playing JRPGs now in all of my free time from the SNES era and still be doing this time next year.
No, easily.
Yeah. Chrono Trigger. I mean, we haven't even spoken about the best Final Fantasy game ever.
What's that?
What was it that Rich said was the best Final Fantasy ever?
Oh, Xenoblade.
Xenoblade Chronicles, the greatest Final Fantasy ever made. We haven't even spoken about that. I mean, Chronicles 2 has got some of the depthiest level up mechanics that I have ever seen in a JRPG.
Well, if you want
It's
to
disgusting.
if you want to talk about a depthy game, a game that is AAA blockbuster across the board and is a stunning piece of video gaming, but from the Western RPG aspect, as someone mentioned earlier, The Witcher 3.
Yeah, see, I've heard so many good things about The Witcher.
It's so deep. It's so rich. There's so much lore. There's so much in-game mechanics. Like, I love the bestiary system, which is basically...
I wondered what you were going to say then.
But what's really good about this bestiary system is it kind of harkens back to that idea of back in the days, the more you play, the more you know. And it updates itself the more you fight these creatures, so you start learning their weaknesses and what you need to coat your sword in and what defensive you need to have on, what spells work are very effective against it. And that's what The Witcher's all about. It's a very organic growth. It's so deep. You just care so much. You are this Witcher. You're going around hunting these fantastic beasts. You're solving these like crimes. You're saving towns. You're burning towns. You're doing all this crazy stuff. And it's just so deep and rich. And it's such a good game. Like, there are a lot of people out there that say that The Witcher 3 is the best RPG of all time. Like, people love it.
From what I know about The Witcher 3 is that it's an amazing shout. You've played it to death. I haven't.
I haven't played it to death. I couldn't play it all because I think...
Too much?
No, it was a lot. I think I gave it a rest for like 2 or 3 weeks. And then that's the kiss of death, really.
Oh,
when you gave it a rest for 2 or 3 weeks and then you jump back in it and it's so deep. You need the tutorial again because you lose your muscle memory and all sorts.
See, games like that are really frustrating. The amount of times I've played through Final Fantasy X, and you have that gap where maybe you've got a game that you want to try out, and that takes up a week, and then you never go back to the one you played before. There are so many games that are like that.
I mean, modern day JRPG influenced Western RPGs, for example.
Yeah.
Is a cool little subsection. And we played a lot of it. We've been playing South Park.
Yeah.
The South Park RPGs recently, which obviously are turn-based JRPG influence. The first one is. The second one is almost like a Final Fantasy Tactics sort of tribute, basically. It's not deep, but they clearly taken the grid system and the method of attack and stuff. Very, like, you know, they knew what they were harking on.
It's not super tacticsy, but yes, I do get what you're saying.
But there is a deeper level of tactics to the traditional JRPG battle style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is a lot about defenses and type abilities, like Pokemon, for example.
But even then, they've kind of dumbed it down a little bit because there isn't a lot of like full-blown weaknesses. And unfortunately, what we found out, luckily quite towards the end of our playthrough that we went through on twitch.tv/Top Hat Chat.
Nice.
Thank you very much. We didn't figure out till the end of the playthrough, but there is a really OP setup. And if you can find the right setup, you can pretty much walk through the game without too much issue. Mm-hmm. It requires DLC to get that set up, but you can pretty much walk through the game without any issues whatsoever.
We found it right at the end.
It out. Yeah. If we would have found it at the start, we probably wouldn't have finished the game.
Cool Girl's final ability is ridiculous. No, not Cool Girl.
Mintberry Crunch.
No, having Mintberry Crunch, and but also having that final girl special ability, which is any enemy that's in the last sort of third of its health can be insta-killed.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's where it's at. Like, I did Morgan Freeman in one attempt.
Yes, yeah.
In like
with
15,
that,
with that combo,
setup,
they really worked. But I enjoyed the games massively.
Yeah.
And do you know what? Western RPGs are in a good stead in general. We have arguably one of the most exciting games coming out in a few months. We have Cyberpunk, made by the devs behind Witcher 3. So you know it's going to be deep. You know it's going to be rich. It looks splendid.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to play it. We will be playing it on stream.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel
100%.
And I fully cannot wait to see what they're bringing to the table this time around.
Yeah.
As for JRPGs, I don't know anything in the future that's really, other than the Final Fantasy VII remake, but I know that's not going to be more traditional RPG. The more I hear about, we haven't even talked about Pokemon, for example, but the more I hear about Sword and Shield, it sounds like it's going to be batty.
Yeah.
Like, come on now. I've heard that they're putting in that XP share system that's bolted in that they had in Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu.
Oh god, that's going to be terrible.
Every Pokemon earns legit amounts of XP every battle.
Not happy about that at all.
From the off.
That's not cool.
From the off.
It'll make the game too easy.
The game's already well easy. Most of the main gym leaders only ever have 2 Pokemon at most nowadays.
It's disgusting.
It is disgusting.
It's disgusting. But that's the thing. Like, the problem with JRPGs, right now, is that probably 90% of the time, if it hasn't got a pre-established name attached to it, it's not going to sell. Mm-hmm. Not in the West.
But yeah, it is a problem. A lot of good JRPGs go by the wayside over here because they don't have a name attached to them. Yeah. Like,
you could release, right, Final Fantasy 16, right, the exact same game, and release it as Final Fantasy 16, and also release it as Blue Dragon 2. Or Lost Odyssey 2. From the 360.
I never played Lost Odyssey, you know.
It's meant to be amazing, right? But that's the thing. You wouldn't have that. You love JRPGs. You love turn-based RPGs. You had an Xbox 360, but you didn't buy Lost Odyssey because it didn't have a name attached to it.
No.
And that's the problem.
They usually have cheap-looking box art as well.
Cyberpunk.
Oh, I'm definitely getting it.
The Outer Worlds.
Yeah.
Super hype about Western RPGs that are coming out with no real names. You've got developers attached to them, fair enough. But no real names attached to them. It's not Fallout 5.
No.
And they're selling. And people are playing them. And people are excited about them.
Mm-hmm. They are. I mean, it's a good time.
There'd be no call for a Lost Odyssey 2, which again is one of the best JRPGs on the Xbox 360.
True. There is no clam for it at all.
So I think that's a really, really big issue. I think one of the biggest issues about RPGs and the way that we have to look at this is the fact that unless you have a pre-established IP, you're never going to sell your games. No. Which means that not enough time is put into them. Look at Lost Sphere. Look at I Am Setsuna. They didn't sell well.
I was going to ask, what was the sales like for, was it Ikura? What's the one that the devs from Software did?
Oh God,
Sekiro.
Sekiro.
Yeah, what was the sales like for that? Because obviously they have such huge hype behind them after the success of the Soul series and Bloodborne. I'm not a massive. No. Like, this is a whole RPG area we haven't
I would like to play Sekiro, to be fair, but I think that's completely different. I think Souls games, they've branched off into a completely separate category.
Are they their own category? They're like Japanese-based Western action RPGs,
basically,
mechanic.
well, it's exactly the same thing. It's it's the exact same as what we did with South Park as Westerners. The Japanese have taken our style of RPG and turned it up to 11 on the difficulty.
Yeah, I mean, it's not been an area that I'm vastly experienced in, but the one out of all the Souls games that I've played that I've enjoyed the most, Bloodborne.
Yeah, it's meant to be very good.
Bloodborne was great, and do you know what was the best thing about Bloodborne? The gameplay was a lot speedier and stuff, which was cool. But the best thing for me was it just was way more stylistically. It was amazing. That sort of Victorian, London-inspired, European closed streets, the gore, like the folk tale-y based, elongated creatures and things. Really, really, what had a ton of character about it. Right, and that was a tremendous game.
Okay, so I think that we've spoken enough about the games to come up with some kind of conclusion here. So do you mind if I conclude?
Yeah.
I think that if you're looking at retro gaming, JRPGs are the way to go. There was a plethora of an amazing JRPGs if you go back through the 360 and backwards. Okay, the 360 I think was a turning point, and you stopped getting any real good ones. Yeah, a very, very small handful. And after that, there became the dominance of the Western RPG. And I think that is where you differentiate. If you're looking kind of maybe pre-Xbox 360 era, then you're looking at JRPGs. They're the best ever. If you're looking at post that era, you're 100% looking at the Western RPG has taken over. Because they got so good that the Japanese started making them.
I think that could be a fair call, you know. It's tricky. You're going to have fans that are solely for either one, and you're going to have people that really just enjoy RPGs, which is where I think we fall in. We're lucky that there's an abundance of amazing titles in both. So many so that we've skipped over the likes of Mass Effect and crikey knows what else. Diablo, yeah, we haven't even touched on Diablo. I'm sure there's JRPGs that we haven't mentioned either.
There's loads.
We haven't talked about
Paper
the
Mario
Mother series. Paper Mario, Super Mario RPG.
Yeah.
There's a whole host of them. So I think we will revisit this, much like our first-person shooter discussion last week. I think we will revisit RPGs and maybe do our favourite and our least favourite comparison. Maybe we'll draw up a list each.
Yeah, and maybe we'll try and play some new RPGs and see what they bring, such as The Outer Worlds, which we are going over to twitch.tv/TopHatChat right now, if you're watching this live, to go and play for probably 5 hours, and you can talk to us and we will interact with chat immensely, and you can hear about how miserable my day's been, and Orb can cheer you up with his accents and laughter. Which is kind of what we do. So yeah, we are heading over to twitch.tv/TopHatChat. If you're watching this retrospectively and we're not currently live, then go back, find us on Twitch and give us a follow. It costs you nothing, and yeah, you turn on notifications, you can always see us going. If you're watching this video for the first time, then don't forget to drop a like and a comment, because it always helps us out. You can also find us at all of the usual places. We are over at Instagram. Just search for Top Hat Chat. We're also over on Twitter. You can see our Twitter handles are at the bottom of the page. They're just here-ish. Anywhere else? Oh, we also have a Patreon, but you don't have to use it. It's just something we have.
It's merely advisory.
Yes. Thank you so much for being a part of this little episode that we've done. It's been an interesting series. It's been an interesting discussion. I've really quite enjoyed it. And it's made me think of so many games that I desperately need to play, such as Sekiro.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a whole host of new ones on my list. If you have any ideas for any discussions you would like us to do, feel free to also drop those in the comments below, and we will have a look. And if something catches our eye and sounds particularly interesting,
we will put it on a list.
We'll give it a go.
List, not the list.
Not the list.
If you don't know what the list is, then come over to Twitch. You'll see us over there. Anyway, thank you for being a part of it, and we'll see you guys over on Twitch. See you later, guys.